Hey, what's happening, YouTube? Brandon and Eger Fitness back in business.
Always in business.
Actually, always in business. Brandon even couldn't learn how to do this yet. Always fuck it up, bro.
I'm learning.
Evet dostlarım, bugün sizlerle paylaşacağımız şey, kusura bakmayın videomuz İngilizce olacak ama biz hareket etmediğimiz için sadece altyazıları okuyabilirsiniz. Size çok önemli bir misafir getireceğiz kanalımıza. Kanalımız bu kadar önemli bir misafir hiçbir zaman görmemişti. Bir sürü bayan misafir falan geldi ama bu misafir onların hepsinden daha bilgili bir misafir olacak. Dediğimiz gibi Intermittent Fasting ve ketojenik diyet hakkında konuşacağız. Çoğunuz merak ettiğiniz Intermittent Fasting nedir? Bunun hakkında konuşacağız dostlarım. Ve de ketojenik diyet hakkında. Intermittent Fasting dediğimiz şey aç kalmak, oruç tutmak gibi bir şeydir. Ramazan zamanında yapabileceğiniz bir şeydir. Mesela 16 saat aç kalıyorsunuz. Fark etmez günün hangi saati olduğu. İsterseniz uyurken aç kalın, isterseniz akşama doğru aç kalın, fark etmez yani. 16 saat aç kalıp 8 saat yemek yiyorsunuz. Veya 18 saat aç kalıp 6 saat yemek yiyorsunuz. Veya 20 saat aç kalıp 4 saat yemek yiyorsunuz. Veya bir günlü olanları falan da var. Bir sürü varyasyonu var. Ama böyle bir şey Intermittent Fasting. Bunun faydaları, zararları ne? Sizin duyduğunuz gibi çok güzel bir şey. Bunu yapın işte 1000 kilogram kas alacaksınız ve 1000 kilogram yağ kaybedeceksiniz falan, böyle bir şey mi? Bunu açıklayacak Damon McCone dediğimiz bir instructor diyeyim. Ve de ketojenik diyete geldiğimizde, ketojenik diyette karbonhidratı tamamen kesmektir. Hani diyorum ya %40 yağ, %40 protein, %20 karbonhidrat alın. İşte bu karbonhidratı tamamen kesiyorsunuz hayatınızdan. Bunun ne zararı, ne faydası var? Yapılması lazım mı, yapılması lazım değil mi? Bunu konuşacağız. And we have a special guest. And
Special guest for you guys.
I told them this guest is actually more important than all the girls that we had in the channel. Because this guest is just like packed with information.
Packed with knowledge.
So like, it's going to be a pleasure for us to have him here. Who is he, bro?
His name's Damon. He's a registered dietitian, so super knowledgeable about nutrition. He's got his bachelor's in nutrition science, master's in exercise physiology, and he's almost done with his master's in or his doctor's PhD in exercise physiology. So super knowledgeable guy, expert in the field. We figured he'd perfect guy to bring in for a diet video.
Yes.
And hope you guys enjoy. It's gonna be some good information. Hopefully, bust some of the myths that you guys have heard, and just shed some light on these, some diets and stuff.
So, I guess we'll introduce Damon here. We'll let him explain what he does exactly.
So I was Brennan's instructor, I guess. I'm not officially a professor, but I'm the director of the nutrition program at the university these guys went to. So that's how I know Brennan. I know him from the gym too.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about two topics, guys. Ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting is like a trending topic because, I don't know if it's still trending in the United States, but these guys from Turkey, they like keep asking, they're like, intermittent fasting. There's like a conception out there, like when you do this, you're going to put on the most muscle mass and you're going to lose the most body fat or something like. So what is this?
So it is still very popular, and I'm glad you brought up like the concepts about like what people think about it, because that seems to be kind of the case with any diet. With intermittent fasting, we should probably start with whatever diet people are looking to do to get the results they want. The one that's going to work, quote unquote work, is the one that they're going to stick to. So the nice thing about intermittent fasting for some people is that they can condense their intake, so for a lot of people it creates a caloric deficit without having to track a lot of meals.
Yeah.
So traditionally, and it's different for everybody, so when people talk about intermittent fasting, everybody does it a little bit differently. But the kind of traditional approach is 16 hours of fasting and then 8 hours of consumption. And so because there's that condensed consumption time, to physically consume a lot of volume of food is very difficult. So a lot of people end up in a caloric deficit. So that's why it got popular. as far as the research goes on it, the data isn't very supportive of maintaining a lot of muscle mass and getting really lean. In fact, you end up losing a lot of muscle mass in the process because you're fasting for so long. So the body will switch over and start to burn a lot of muscle to survive in those 16 hours of fasting.
Yeah. That's great. I was reading like I've done researches, and then like there are like people saying like when you eat protein the day before at 8 p.m. the amino acids are still being released, so don't worry, you won't burn muscle mass, blah blah blah, you know, stuff like that. Up to like 16 hours you won't burn muscle mass, they were saying. But
So you're still going to be, if you eat the protein the night before, you're still going to be digesting that. However, you're going to get to a level in the body where the energy requirement, the demand is too high for the supply. And so that's where your energy systems are going to switch to get the most efficient amount of energy from the easiest source. And a lot of times that's muscle. There is some argument that it'll increase insulin sensitivity, it may improve growth hormone release, but that doesn't mean that you're going to grow more, and it doesn't mean that you're going to burn more fat. Because actually metabolizing fat is a pretty complex process, and it takes a lot from the body to actually complete the process.
yeah.
And it's a slow process.
So the muscle's way easier to pull for energy than the fat is. in that
Typically,
situation.
yeah. For most people, that's how it works. I mean, our bodies are designed to survive. And so your body doesn't care that you're trying to make gains for the summer or be shredded or whatever. It knows what is available for energy, and it knows what it needs, and so it's going to take what it needs to get to be able to maintain survival.
Damn.
So you're not like with intermittent fasting, you're kind of really not putting your body in the best environment for really like maintaining the muscle then.
It depends on the person. So all of the diets are in context too. So that's why I say like the best diet is something that somebody can follow. So it works for a lot of people because it is an approach that they can sustain with whatever their lifestyle is. Physiologically, is it ideal? Probably not. But if that's what they can be the most consistent with long term, they're probably going to see some pretty good results. So
it could be ideal for someone that's like maybe they work like 12-hour shifts where they can't really eat a lot or something.
Exactly.
You're trying to bodybuild and you're trying to.
Then there's a misconception like if you eat more than 60 grams of protein, they all don't get absorbed.
Right, so that's a pretty big myth. So as far as consumption of protein at each meal, depending on the bioavailability of the protein, meaning how much your body is able to digest and absorb, it will absorb all of it. Okay, so eggs are considered the gold standard. They're basically
Eggs.
eggs.
Yeah.
Whole eggs too. You don't have to throw out the yolks.
Yeah, you don't have to throw those yolks. Man.
Yeah, so eggs are pretty close to 100% bioavailability, meaning that you're going to absorb all the protein. It's going to get into your bloodstream. Where the difference is that not all of it will be used for an anabolic cascade of events. So some of it will just be excreted because it's just more than the body needs. So that's kind of how the body dictates that. Now for some people, they're going to need a little bit less protein. For some people, they're going to need a little bit more protein. But for the overwhelming majority of folks watching your channel, I mean, they probably are eating more than they need right now.
The protein?
But they're probably getting enough.
They're definitely probably getting enough. I mean, unless they're following a really strict vegan or vegetarian approach, they're probably getting enough. The concept, or what we understand right now as far as the science goes, is that it's all based kind of on leucine. And so leucine seems to be the triggering mechanism for the anabolic cascade. And so you want somewhere between 2 to 3 grams of leucine per meal to have this happen. And that equates to between 20 to 30 grams of protein, of quality like animal protein. So if you have 30 grams worth of protein in chicken breast, you're going to get that close to 3 grams of leucine. So it's not difficult to get. People don't need to go out and start supplementing leucine or anything. That's not going to, taking more in won't do extra.
Does this need to be like every 2-3 hours, or it doesn't matter?
That's what we don't fully understand yet. It seems to be around every 4 to 5 hours. Somewhere in that window, you'll probably want to consume it again.
I see.
If people are typically eating 3 meals a day, if they eat at 8 a.m. and then they eat again at noon and then they eat again at like 5 p.m., something like that, that's pretty traditional way that we do it here in the States, but it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't mean that eating every 20 minutes is going to be more effective.
Yeah.
There needs to be a little bit of a latency period of about 2 hours. So somewhere in that 2 to 5 hour window, eat again.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it, and hopefully they get some good info out of this.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And let's make some god
dang gains.
yes, nutritional gains.
Nutritional gains.
Up in this mother freaker.
Motherfucker.
Damon, Brandon, and Eger Fitness is out. Peace out, guys.